Hi, Web Design 1 class. It's Mrs. Miskin. I'm going to go over our HTML practice pages for day 2. These are, this one, is the table of contents page. So let me share my screen and I'll walk you through this preview. Okay. I'm just going to spotlight here so you can see what I'm pointing out. Okay, so in the structure of this page, I've got a main heading here, H1, that needs to say table of contents. Then I've got a smaller subheading here that says chapter 1. Under that heading, I want 3 smaller headings. And this could be probably an H4, judging by the size of it. And I'm just saying you could use it. If you feel like it needs to be bigger or smaller, you can always adjust. Okay, just make sure that you keep them in order so that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't use a 1 and then do a 3 and then do a 2 after that. Okay, make sure your structure makes sense. All right, so then 3 subheadings here that are going to link to text sections down here. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the structure of this in HTML and give you an example so that you can kind of get started on this and then continue on from there. Okay, each one of these also is an anchor link that goes down to a different portion of the page below. So let's go ahead and I'm going to switch over to brackets and we'll set up that page. So in brackets, you're going to do File and New, and then File and Save. Make sure you're in your web design folder. So I'm looking at my web design folder, and this one I'm just going to call Table of Contents. And instead of spaces, you can use either the hyphen or the underscore. Make sure you put table of contents.html and no spaces. Okay. And we're going to start with the required tags, of course. And I've got my open HTML that I'm going to tab in so that it's indented and put head tags. Then underneath that, I'm going to put the body tags and enter down. Most of my content will go there in the body. Okay, make sure you put a title in here also. That is a requirement. And I would just call it table of contents. Okay, inside the body, you're going to have that H1 that also says table of contents. Okay, and then let's, oh, sorry, it wants me to indent that. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that really quick. Okay, so let's go then to an H2 that says chapter 1. Sorry, not section, chapter 1 first. And then I said, try an H4 just so it's a little bit smaller. And this is going to say section 1. And I think on my preview, I put section 1.1. So that indicates chapter 1, section 1. But it's up to you how you want to put that. You can just leave it at section 1. It'll be a little bit easier that way when we do an anchor link. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to do 1. And then I expect you to finish off the rest of this section and do chapter 2 and chapter 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch back to the preview really quick. Okay, and my spotlight. Okay, so here's that section 1.1. That was the H4. Now it links to, when I click on it, section 1 down here, right underneath chapter 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up this portion, and then we can do the links up above. And you can set up your headings first. You can set up all your text below, whichever you want to, whichever one works best. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our code. And so I'm going to assume that then I've got 2 more H4s and then another chapter 2 heading and a 2, H2. and then 3 more, and then chapter 3 in an H2, and then 3 more H4 sections. So 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on. So you have an example, you have that copy of the example, so you can look at that anytime. Okay, so now we're going to come down in here, and I'm going to use, let's see, I'm going to use an H2 for this one again, just so that I can keep them straight. That might help. So I'm going to put chapter 1, and then I'm going to put an H4 that says section 1.1. And I think on my preview, it just says section 1. However, it makes sense to you, that's totally okay. I'm just going to match it up so that you can keep track of it a little bit easier. And then under here, you're going to have a couple of paragraphs and just copy and dummy text. You can go to a Wikipedia page, you can go to an actual book. It doesn't really matter, but you're going to need to probably have 3 different paragraphs in here. So real quick, I'm just going to go back to my preview, and I'll just copy and paste that, since I already have it once. And let's go back to brackets. Okay. Now I'm going to do this a little bit differently. So I copied in, there's 3 separate paragraphs, but I just put it into one tag. Here's what I'm going to do though to fix it. I'm going to end the paragraph tag here. I'm going to start a new one here and end it again over here. And start this one right here. And then I can come back and indent. Okay, so then I've got 3 separate paragraphs. So whatever you do, if you do them one at a time, that's fine. Just make sure that you have individual paragraphs here. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let's now go to our links. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have on this section 1.1, we're going to go ahead with the ahref. Actually, let's do one thing really quick first so that we know what we're going to call it. We need to indicate the ID for where we want it to jump down to. So on this H4, because I want it to go to section 1.1, I'm going to just do a space and then put ID equals, and then I'm going to put quotations and 1.1. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to put section in front of it, just so that it makes a little bit more sense. Okay. Now I've got the ID set, so that kind of marks the spot. So I'll go back up to this H4 that matches it, the 1.1. And before the word section, type ahref equals, sorry. And then you've got quotations, and I'm just going to put that same marker in here. So section 1.1, close the quotation, close the bracket, and then make sure and move this so that it's after the word section 1-1. So that'll set up our pair. So I've got one tag up here that links section 1.1 to this section 1.1 ID. And I forgot one thing. Let's go ahead and just put in here that hashtag symbol. Okay, that indicates that it's an ID and not a page name. Okay, sorry, I forgot about that. Okay, so that says ID. So then it's looking for the ID that is section 1.1. Okay, so now those match up. You can go ahead and save it and test it and then finish out. So just finish up the other H4s and continue writing your different chapter 1s and paragraphs and things like that. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and stop that there. And this is the only one for today. If you didn't finish the ones from day 1, you can work on that also. Or the more you can get, the better. So just code as much as you can for these practice pages.